An anti-Russia publication has written a story about missing gay men in Chechnya, which is very concerning, especially when you consider the fact that the leader of Chechnya has a very close relationship with Vladimir Putin, who is very clearly anti-gay. Now, as many as 100 gay men have been rounded up, and some of them are allegedly dead. And so we don't know many details about this, but here's what we do know. More than 100 gay men have been detained, and at least 3 have been killed by authorities in Chechnya. That's according to this Russian newspaper known as Novaya Gazeta. Also, dozens of men between the ages of 16 and 50 have been detained in connection with their non-traditional sexual orientation or suspicion of such. Now, the Russian Federation is known for its hostility to the LGBT community. Since 2013, it has upheld an anti-gay propaganda law that sharply curtails the public expression of LGBT identities. It's very similar to what we reported years ago, where Russian officials would argue that talking about anything related to the LGBT community is gay propaganda that could harm children. So they didn't want people talking about it in public forums and supporting it. And in Chechnya recently, there were a number of LGBT people who wanted to do a gay pride parade. And so some are arguing that this is in retaliation to those demonstrations.
And of course, some of those folks were arrested in that parade as well. So this is exactly what we're worried about. In the beginning, they say, oh, well, look, we're just saying that we're not against gay people, we're just against gay propaganda. And we're not worried about adults, we're just worried about the children. It always starts out with the children, right? And then it gets a little worse and a little worse. And all the while people are like, no, don't be alarmist, it's not a big deal. And then next thing you know, people are being rounded up. And if Novaya Gazeta is right and the New York Times is reporting what they are alleging here, apparently they've started killing gay citizens in Chechnya.
Right, so Vice has reported that 2 of the people who were allegedly murdered were reporters. And also officials in Chechnya are denying this and saying that this is a completely made up April Fool's story, so no one should buy into it. But there is an important statement from the leader of Chechnya that I think is relevant to this conversation. So a spokesperson for the Chechen leader, who is a vocal supporter of Russian President Vladimir Putin, denied that any such activities have taken place. He further suggested that there are no gay people in the country at all. He says, you cannot arrest or repress people who just don't exist in the republic. If such people existed in Chechnya, law enforcement would not have to worry about them, as their own relatives would have sent them to where they could never return.
So let's break that down a little bit. First of all, for the guys who are saying it's an April Fool's joke, then to curiously turn around and say, if they existed, their relatives would send them to a place they would never return from. Okay, then it's not a joke, and you would like to make them disappear. So which one is it? It's not a joke. The New York Times is reporting it. Okay, now again, it comes from Novaya Gazeta, so and it's in the middle of Chechnya where it is super hard to report. So that's why we're giving you all the caveats about they are reporting this and hard to determine all the different aspects of it. But this is this quote from Ramzan Kadyrov reminds me of what Ahmadinejad said in Iran. He said the same thing. He said there are no gays in Iran.
Right.
And whenever they're about to either arrest, detain, oppress, or maybe even kill gay citizens, the thing that they say is there are no gays.
Right.
And by the way, this Kadyrov guy, who's just like Putin, loves to do the workout videos, take his shirt off, and praise Daddy Putin. Okay, going around shirtless with his and telling us how much he loves Putin. I know there are no gays in Chechnya. I know. Okay, and I don't know if they're using it as an excuse to kill some reporters. But any way you look at it, it is deeply, deeply troubling. And what you should remember is no matter what the country is, when they tell you that they've started to take actions against a certain minority, don't worry, don't be alarmist. It won't end poorly. It almost always ends poorly. Young Turks now has over 6 billion lifetime views. You know who did that? You did that. We're now larger than CNN, ABC, you name a news network online, we're larger than them. And you built all that as everyone scoffed and didn't believe. And here we are, guys, thanks to you. Build independent media together with us at tytnetwork.com/join.